Hello, Joe here again, and today we're making beef jerky. So we're going to start off. Some people have a meat slicer. If you have a meat slicer, it makes it a lot easier. If you don't, well, you just have to cut it with a knife, which isn't that hard. I used to do it. Now I got a meat slicer, so it makes the things a lot easier when you're doing a lot of beef jerky. So this is a tip sirloin tip piece of meat. It's a little bit fatty than I normally like to use, but anyway, it's going to be fine. It's going to taste good. It's more tender, and so I'm going to slice this up. Okay, now we got all that meat cut. So one thing, if you're using that meat slicer, is you be very careful. Make sure you don't cut your fingers, because you can get your fingers close to the blade. And now the next step is to lay the meat out flat. Some people don't do it this way. I think it's the best way to do it myself. You lay the meat out flat on some cookie sheets, and then I'll get this all laid out and we'll be right back. Okay, so we got everything all laid out here nicely on the pans. I had a little bit more, so I used a plate. One thing I forgot to mention when we're doing cutting, it's better to have the meat a little frozen. I didn't do it this time, but it's always easier if it's not fully frozen, not even half frozen, but maybe a quarter frozen, just a little stiffer. It makes cutting, especially if you're cutting with a knife. If you're cutting with a knife, it makes it a lot easier. So now for the jerky seasoning and curing, I use the stuff I buy at Cabela's. It's teriyaki flavor. That's what I use, and it comes with a curing. So this is the salt cure. You can buy this stuff just straight and make your own stuff. I haven't mastered the recipe yet, so I just use this, and I use a pepper salt shaker. Very simple. So you mix for each pound. So I got about 2 pounds here. For each pound, you mix a 1/4 teaspoon. So I got a half. I got 2 pounds, so I'll mix a half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon of the cure. Here we go for the cure. Put that in there. That'll get stuck to the side, so I'll put just a little bit more in. And then we're going to put 3 tablespoons of well, you can use 1 to 1.5 tablespoons per pound. So you can use 2 to 3 for 2 pounds. So I'm going to use 1, 2, maybe I'll use 2.5. 2 and a bit, yeah, 2, that should be good. Okay, so now we got to mix that cure in there real good. So we just cover the top here, and you just mix. Give this a good mix. Want that cure to mix good with the seasoning, and then it's just like putting salt on your food, but you put a lot more. You give a good point. So this is a little more than half full, but I'm not going to use this all. I'm going to have some extra. It's just the way I do it. There's other ways to do it. I do it this way. I think I get the best results. So that's the way I do it. So I used about half of it. Now I flip these all over. Okay, flipped them all over. Now I'm going to put the last coat on of the seasoning and cure. Just making sure that I have enough. Usually I have some extra. This is 2 pounds, this batch. Yeah, and I still got a bit left over. So now we're gonna put this into a bowl. 1 second, I'll be right back with a bowl. Okay, so now we're going to put this all in the bowl. Once we get this into the bowl, we're going to put it into the fridge, and we're going to refrigerate it for 24 hours. Oh, maybe my bowl is a little small. So this, and then we're going to saran wrap the top of this bowl, put this into the fridge for 24 hours, and then we're going to, yeah, it's just a little bit small, but that's okay, I can put saran wrap over the top. So I'm going to just saran wrap this, put this into the fridge, and luckily we have some in the fridge that I did yesterday, and it is good to go. So I'll just saran wrap that in a couple minutes once I get done with this. And this is how it looks 24 hours later. Now, what I have is this. This is a $40 dehydrator from Walmart. And it's just a cheap one, but it does the trick. That's all you need. You don't need nothing fancy. So, here's a piece of saran wrap. There we go. Done. Okay, so you take one tray. Now this is yesterday's. You can see the darker color, that's from the curing of it. So we just take that and we lay them flat on the trays. Now this is going to dehydrate for 8 to 12 hours. Usually I turn it on at night, and then I just let it go all night. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I move the trays around. So I put the top tray to the bottom and the bottom tray to the top, just because there's more heat coming from the bottom. So the bottom ones usually take less time. And then in the morning time, it's all done, and I got my snacks for the day. And so that's that. Now we're going to put the trays together. They'll just sit like this. This is so easy. You know, there's nothing to it. But beef jerky, it costs so much in the store, and there's no reason why it has to. Well, the meat is a little expensive. This here is what's going on here? Okay. Okay, that's that. You put the lid on. Now this is I normally use a different lid than this one. I normally use the other one. Okay, and then I plug this in, set this to 160 degrees, and 160 degrees, turn it on. That's the beef jerky. I'll show you it in the morning when it's all done. Good morning everybody. So, this has been going all night. I shut this off a minute ago, but before you unplug it, you should make sure that the fans are off. Okay, so here we go. This is the beef jerky. So that's what it looks like when it's all done. It's pretty good. Tastes really good. So this is, I weighed all of this already, and it's 315 grams. I started out with 1,060 grams, so you lose about 2/3 of the weight. And the kilogram of this meat costs $10 a kilogram. So yeah, this is $5 worth of meat, and it's less than a pound, 300 grams. So that's how you make beef jerky. That's all. If you like this video, subscribe, and that's how it's done, my friends.